Once upon a time, long ago, before the gods and demigods of our ancestors in the homeland, before Julius Caesar governed in Rome, when there were no church bells calling to the fair, and the books of the Bible were not yet written, there prevailed a golden goddess over skies and earth. All people belonged to the sun and worshipped its sunshine. The sun warms up the earth when the goddess combs over the earth with her golden rays of hair, as she does always at midday. Humans forgot that it is like that, because it's written nowhere in the Bible, but it is like that. There came a day when humans no longer admired the sun goddess. That insulted her, but nevertheless, she didn't want to remove the necessary rays from humans, so long as it would give warmth to their hearts. If the rays should cool off, however, the goddess would turn away and would give her warming light to another world which had earned it more. This is what the sun goddess announced before a crowd of 7 leading knights, and she raised these to be her eternal servants. The knights were to come together and give themselves a secret title that only they could recognize. They should build a magnificent castle then, with 4 turrets after the directions of the wind, and an inner court of special place. In the center of the special place, a base was to stand, and beside it, a tellus gate. Against this tellus gate, climbing roses should be planted, and soon they would adorn it beautifully. In addition, the knight should create a golden figure, formed after the goddess's instruction. Through this figure, she would speak to her knights. If they put the figure up at midday on its base in the center of the special place in the court. The knights did everything completely and exactly, just as the sun goddess had instructed them. For the first time, the golden figure was set up at midday in the center of the courtyard, and the goddess spoke to them there with these words. I greet you, my noble lonely knights. Thus I call you, because you will be lonely, because the eternal ones are always lonely. Such are you. While other humans of this earth die and are pulled into far regions, either good or bad, to you such dying is not. If you need a new body because the old is used up, then I give you a new. You must live as humans on this earth from now until at least 1 times 777 years, or it may however also be twice or 3 times this time interval. The years will seem eternal and at the same time lonely, knights of the demigod light. I now give you your orders. 777 years shall be given to the earth and its inhabitants, starting now. The golden figure by which I speak to you will guard the earth for so long. Your castle will be purged with time, and humans will not see anything but rubble. For you, however, nothing is destroyed. It lives in intact splendor. For the mortal, it will be invisible. The sound splendor of your castle will not be visible for them. It is, however, needful for you to become at any time visible, to do palpable things if it is needed. Since you are now only a few, a larger crowd of lonely knights is necessary, in order that your order may be quite fulfilled. It is for you to select from among the daughters of humans the most beautiful and noble, and to sleep with them for 7 days and 7 nights without break. Thus shall you transfer your immortality to these your wives. The children who you witness with them will not be immediately eternal, but I will give this power to them. Now I want you to go forth for the first 7 years. One goes into northern Germany and takes himself a woman there. One goes into northern Italy and takes himself a woman there. One goes to France and takes himself a woman there. One goes into southern Italy and takes himself a woman there. One goes to Spain and takes himself a woman there. One goes to Hungary and takes himself a woman there. One remains in southern Germany and Austria and takes himself a woman here. Send your first son and your first daughter to this your castle. The golden figure will speak through me and instruct them all further. Thus, the mystery crowd of the eternal lonely knights was formed over time. That legend of the lonely knights around a castle which lies very hidden, inaccessible to the uninitiated, was part of nationalist German mysticism, which was influenced by Templarism. But who were the German Templars? The Temple Society is a German Protestant sect with roots in the Pietist movement of the Lutheran Church. Pietism is a movement that combines biblical doctrine with a reformed emphasis on individual piety. In spiritual terminology, piety is a virtue which may include religious devotion, spirituality, and humility, which originated in Germany in the late 17th century. Their members refer to themselves as Templars. Although the movement started exclusively within Lutheranism, it had a tremendous impact on Protestantism worldwide, spreading first to Switzerland, Scandinavia, and the Baltics, and the rest of Europe, then taken to North America, primarily by German and Scandinavian immigrants. There, it influenced Protestants of other ethnic backgrounds, contributing to the 18th century foundation of evangelicalism, a movement within Protestantism that today has some 300 million followers. The Templars were expelled from the Lutheran Church in 1858 because of their millenarial beliefs. Millenarianism is a word that comes from the Latin millenarius, which means containing 1,000, and is the belief of a coming transformation of society after which all things will be changed, usually coming about after major cataclysms or other apocalyptic events. The word Templar is derived from concepts in the Bible, where every person and the community are seen as temples in which God's Spirit dwells. The Temple Society was founded by two men, Christoph Hoffmann, who was chairman of a German congregation of the Moravian Church, also called the Unitas Fratrum, Latin for Unity of the Brethren, one of the oldest Protestant denominations in the world, dating back to the Bohemian Reformation of the 15th century, founded in the Kingdom of Bohemia. The other was George David Hardegg, who in 1868 purchased land at the foot of Mount Carmel, a coastal mountain range in northern Israel stretching from the Mediterranean Sea towards the southeast, where Israel's third largest city, called Haifa, is located. At the time, Haifa had a population of 4,000 Arabs, and the Templars are credited today with the development of the city, with religious colonies spreading congregations to Jaffa, Jerusalem, and Sarona, where they established a regular coach service between Haifa and other cities, promoting tourism, making important contributions to road construction, and establishing a lot of agriculture. For example, the colony's oranges were the first to carry the Jaffa orange brand, one of the better known agricultural brands in Europe, used to market Israeli oranges to this day. Their aim was to promote spiritual cooperation, to advance the rebuilding of the temple in the Holy Land, then called Palestine, in the belief that this foundation will promote the second coming of Christ. In 1898, Kaiser Wilhelm II of Germany visited the colonies and initiated the formation of a society for the advancement of the German settlements in Palestine, enabling the settlers to acquire land for new settlements by offering them low-interest loans. Waves of pioneer settlers followed in 1902, 1903, 1906, and 1907, with Templar communities in what was then called Palestine now numbering in the thousands. The houses they built can still be seen in Haifa and on part of what is now called Ben Gurion Boulevard. There's been a growing interest in Israel about these German settlers, and an exhibition about them was organized in Tel Aviv back in 2006, where they are acknowledged as being the first to develop the land in modern times, and the government recognizes the contributions they made to things like early infrastructure. Fast forward to World War I and the events associated with it, such as the Balfour Declaration, and if you're not familiar with that, I've included a link in the description to a video I did on the subject. When the British Army conquered the Holy Land at the end of 1917, matters started to change for the German Templars. In July and August of 1918, the British sent almost 1,000 Templars to an internment camp near Cairo in Egypt. In April 1920, most were deported to Germany. All the property of the Templars of enemy nationality, meaning Germans, was taken into public custodianship. With the establishment of a regular British administration in 1918, Templar property and livestock was seized, labeled as enemy property, and rented out with profits collected by the British. In April 1920, the Allies convened at the Conference of San Remo, agreeing on the British rule in Palestine. Fast forward to 1933 and the rise of the Nationalist Socialist government in Germany. Many of the Templars that weren't deported officially joined the Nationalist German Party, who opened a branch in Haifa in 1934, followed by another one in Jaffa. At the time, it was not uncommon to see a Nationalist Socialist parade in the streets of Tel Aviv, with flags and uniforms in full regalia. This image was from Jerusalem, and you can see the flags for yourself out in the open. Here's an article from 1938, which was published in the 6th year of the transfer agreement, where German Jews voluntarily went to transfer camps from 1933 to 1939 and were not only given a ride to the Holy Land on German ships. Once they arrived, they were given back a large portion of their assets, whether it be money or things like real estate, with another portion of it going to Jewish organizations which used it for various common goods and services. You can find out more about it online, such as articles called Transfer Agreement on Wikipedia, or Jewish websites where it's called Havara Agreement. 100% available mainstream knowledge, even if it's ignored 100% by Hollywood and the controlled corporate media. The German camps were established to send people and their assets to Palestine by the tens of thousands, if not hundreds of thousands, something overlooked and left out by people like Steven Spielberg, but nonetheless part of history and factual reality.
Live on Channel 5, this is the 10 o'clock news with Deborah Norville.
Coming out revealing secret negotiation between the Nazis and the Zionists in 1933, which allowed German Jews and their assets to go to Palestine.
American Jews marched calling for the boycott of all German exports. Jews throughout Europe echoed that call, so did Jews everywhere. But a group of Zionists at the same time was quietly negotiating an agreement with the Nazis to allow the immigration of German Jews and the transfer of their assets to Palestine. That deal, reported in August 1933, was the transfer agreement. Palestine, sparsely settled by Jews at the time, was radically changed as a result.
I lived in Palestine from 1933 to 1936, and we saw every week transports of German Jews coming to settle in Palestine.
German Jewish settlement of Palestine was, for a time, official Nazi policy. These photos of Jewish life in Palestine, along with a lengthy text, appeared in 1934 in the Berlin paper Der Angriff. A Nazi Visits Palestine was the title of the multi-part series. A medal was struck by Goebbels in commemoration. On one side, the swastika. On the other, the Star of David.
That said, the relations deteriorated between the German Templars that spent decades building the community there and other migrants that were in political alignment with the British, some of whom emigrated from places like Russia in alignment with Russian Bolsheviks, who were the Marxist origins of the communist revolution that killed tens of millions and then became the Soviet Union. The British ran what is now Israel from the end of the First World War, and by the time of the Second World War, decided that after nearly a century in Haifa, the German Templars needed to be kicked out, deporting them en masse to Germany. Many of the children of the tens of thousands or hundreds of thousands of Yiddish-speaking Germans who populated Palestine from 33 to 39 are unaware of this history and are also taught propaganda in their schools. Yiddish, by the way, is one of the dialects of Alemannic Germany that belongs to the High German group, like Swabian, from the region of Bavaria. For those familiar with my work, the term Swabia will sound familiar, as in New Swabia or Neuschwabenland, an area of Antarctica named by nationalist Germany, a subject that I'll get into in much more detail in an upcoming video, with content never before disclosed publicly, not available by any other source, period. Which leads us to these coins, which I showed in my last video, which I'll leave a link to in the description, which was about ancient symbols, such as a swastika and what some call the Seal of Solomon, both symbols appearing together on the same coin, as they also often appear together on ancient Phoenician archaeological sites, or ancient structures in places like Lalibela, Ethiopia, that contain both the swastika carved into stone churches, as well as the Seal of Solomon built by the Knights Templar. This is suppressed because it goes against the narrative pushed by modern post-World War II academia, media, Hollywood, as well as people who call themselves truthers that saturate social media with false information disseminated by the same globalist bankers that they claim to be united against. My name is Robert Sepehr. I'm an anthropologist. You can find my published books on Amazon. They make a great gift. I'd like to thank those who support me through patreon.com. There should be a link below for those who are interested. I appreciate it very much. Thank you. As always, I look forward to reading your thoughts in the comment section. Please have a wonderful weekend, and I hope to see you again soon.